special episode with Jamila El Mir, and we decided to flip it, and instead of one-way fireside chat, it's going to be a two-way dialogue. And nothing is really prepared in how we want to engage somehow. So looking forward to that. And by the way, Jamila and I, we were both many years ago at AUB, roaming the campus, following our ambition and interest in the bachelor's degree. However, we never crossed paths until sustainability took us to the walkways of forums, conferences, panel discussions, virtual meetings discussing public-private policies, partnerships. And here we are today. We want to demystify behind the titles, behind the passion for impact, who is the human being and how is life, being orchestrated while juggling what we do and our personal life. So it's like an up close and personal with Jamila. So welcome, Jamila, to Fusion Talks platform.
Thank you, Yasmin. I want to add, the first time I think we had a one-on-one discussion, we also discovered we were neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. And in the same community, because there's
exactly.
1 and 2,
yeah,
few blocks away.
Yeah.
It was a
walking
mere
distance.
surprise.
Yeah.
So, Jamila, from AUB to global impact, looking back, was there a moment during our AUB years that ignited your interest in leadership, sustainability, or people?
I don't think there was a key moment. I think at every step I couldn't imagine what things would look like 5 years ahead. What I always knew is I wanted to work for people, but not directly, for example, through healthcare or medicine. So I needed a bit of distance, which is why the environment is this distance between me and direct impact. So being a humanitarian worker, for example, would be too difficult. But working for people through the environment was a perfect segue.
Yeah.
But yeah, there wasn't, no, I don't think there was a key moment. I think there were little milestones. So when I was in AUB, I joined the Red Cross Club.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was the first time in my life I felt, you know what, I'm useful. My existence is useful to the community. And I loved that usefulness that I found in being a part of the Red Cross.
The meaningfulness.
Yeah, the meaningfulness and the impact. You're working directly to cater for the needs of people who have very legitimate needs. It was very, very satisfying and rewarding, and something relatively new for me back then, and I hadn't had that experience before. And I think I've tried to find a similar type of fulfillment, sometimes successfully, sometimes not successfully. But yeah, I don't know, did you experience a similar key moment?
Well, I remember back then, before starting university, I thought I want to work in hospitals or be a nurse or the management side of running hospitals, inspired from the legacy of Al Barbir Hospital. But once my father and mom, they returned in one of their outings at night, and they told me, we saw a young woman leading a team over dinner, and we think, you will be a businesswoman, and we imagine you in her shoes. So, and why you want to go through this, long years of studying something like the pre-med or biology. So I thought about business, and it was what I've studied, but I was inspired through the case studies about Nestle and how you impact people, but through as well health, wellness, and the nutrition.
Okay.
And I targeted Nestle post my first banking
wow.
career.
Okay.
And that's how the vast journey of my corporate life was there, centering to create shared value, but through pillars of nutrition and caring for the planet and caring for
It's amazing,
people's
you
health.
actually targeted the company because
Yeah.
when and maybe I was very naive, but when I went to university and I graduated, I had very little knowledge of, okay, where do I find a meaningful job? What type of jobs are meaningful that exist in the market? And I think today this generation has better exposure to career fairs, etc. But it's amazing. And back then, you specifically targeted the company because of its corporate.
Yeah.
You were avant-garde.
I did my homework.
Yeah, exactly.
I approached few FMCGs, but it was my primary choice.
Okay.
And sometimes you see things happen in alignment. And yeah, I was fortunate to be hooked, but I started in Kuwait.
Okay.
So it was absolute experience beyond the comfort zone of being in your hometown.
Mm-hmm.
Jamila, you've walked the path as well from AUB to advising at the highest climate platforms like COP28. So what anchored your journey? What kept you grounded amidst all the global teams and the people that you meet from various countries at the highest levels?
I don't know, you just get sucked into the day-to-day job. I think every step of my career from university to حتى the present day, it's always been by, I'd say, نصيب. يعني الحمد لله, the opportunity was there. Very often I'd spend some time in a job, try to apply to many opportunities that would not materialize, and then what materializes comes through another way where I wouldn't necessarily have approached it. أولا, I am يعني very grateful, alhamdulillah, for the opportunities. And I think you just realize in every single job, حتى in your personal life, I think we're programmed to compare each other ولا position. But if you really look, achievement is not by position.
Very true.
Achievement is by personality. All of us have met more senior people that are arrogant and less senior people who actually work much harder and achieve much more impact. I think if we are true to ourselves, if you notice these things, it becomes very hard aslan to spend your time just not being grounded. I focus on my job, and then I've been lucky to work with a lot of diverse teams from different backgrounds, public sector, NGOs, private sector, many nationalities. We live in Dubai, which is super multicultural. Yes, exactly. It really becomes difficult aslan to not be grounded. You just get busy with delivering. I think that's the grounding, the focusing on the end objective and on delivery by default, I think grounds you. Yeah.
And I believe this is as well a trait. You're someone very humble, and I always see humility in what you do. That's how I read you as well when you talk in panels, when you deliver speech. You are kind.
Yeah, I think what I learned throughout, and I think, especially being a young graduate and then growing in your career, we all have these moments where somebody takes credit for something you did and then you get annoyed, but you're too shy to talk out, etc. I think throughout the time I've had these frustrations, and I learned, I don't say I'm humble, I try to be fair. So I don't like it when somebody takes credit for my work, but كمان I have zero interest in
being in the limelight.
In a forecast, I don't mind being in the limelight when it's needed, when there's a clear message, but I do not seek it as an end objective. It's I mean, all of us have busy lives. We have family, we have our jobs. For me, it's just a means to, again, reaching the objective. What's the objective?
Contributing to the success, to flawless delivery.
Do you want to recruit people on your cause? Do you want to raise ambition? Do you want to get more engagement on a specific topic? Do you want to get feedback for them? Then it's useful to be on platforms and communicate. But beyond that, it's also very time consuming. And I think some people use it for different means. Sometimes it's self-expression, which I think is very, very important, but different people have different ways of
personal branding.
Exactly, and they have different objectives and different ways of achieving these. I think I've just learned to be fair to myself with time. And I don't know what your journey was. I know literally you've been country general manager, regional sustainability leader, and you're a very kind, forgiving person. I don't know if you went through a similar journey. I think I'm much more blunt than you. I don't know if we have similar journeys, but
look, my journey was grounded basically more in corporate and in different, roles, responsibilities, vastness, and while I kept escalating the career ladder, the constant is the principles and values and being people-centric. So if it's about influencing, it is influencing with integrity, how to mobilize teams. And I was humbled by the success of the, cumulative effort and energy put there. Of course, you learn a lot of things the hard way sometimes. But I was fortunate to be always surrounded by team members who are caring, who love what they do, and we capitalize on each other to shine. Shifting gears to entrepreneurship, it's different experience, different emotional roller coaster, and where uncertainty is certainty, but it's thrilling, and it humbles you as well, because outside corporate, where you are stripped from your title, what is constant again, and it's for others to be reassured in their discovery about you, it's who you are, what you stand up for, and how to continue to be driven by curiosity that stimulates you mentally. And instead of climbing the ladder, it's how to build bridges and partnerships, and to be really patient, because nothing is guaranteed at month end, but it is full of possibilities.
Yeah, and this patience is so difficult in such a fast-paced world, right? And we have newsfeed every day.
Yes.
Of a million things happening with hundreds of people. I think it's life lessons, and then how we go through them is important.
Exactly, life lessons, and that we experience firsthand. And it's about the more you meet different people, different scenarios, different experiences, it sculptures, our character. And if we are still, willing to unlearn a lot of skill sets and be humble again to learn, and sometimes start from scratch.
Yep.
Because not necessarily the legacies or wealth of what we absorbed could be fit for purpose for new challenges
and
that are happening, because everything around us is spiraling in a different way, gravitating us maybe to new destinies.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's about our mental agility as well, to
being
accept
open.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
While you were talking, a question popped up in my mind. Is there a key moment you remember somebody said something or did something in front of you that made you rethink how you prioritize things between career and life?
Yeah. Once I was attending a leadership course in London Business School, and part of it is coaching. And I remember back then I had my third newborn, and I was the country manager of Lebanon. And I was alone. My husband was still in Kuwait. It was too much to handle with all the stress. And he saw me that I'm a pot full of steam. And I was spending very long hours at work and barely seeing my kids. They were really babies. And I cracked crying. And he said, like, this is not sustainable. You need to reprioritize yourself, your well-being, and, you know, your mental stamina. So it was a wake-up call because I was on the verge of burnout. And back then I said, yes, I needed to balance more my time without, of course, compromising the essence of work and leading the team. And I need to invest in my health and my fitness. And I started to listen more to those cues. And I think during COVID, I was sucked back in, work and life where we're so in fusion that most of us, like, work was giving us the oxygen. And it's like in your pajama behind the screen day and night, yalla, working. So again, I reached this climax, and then I had to rejuggle things and reprioritize.
Reorder.
Exactly.
Okay.
It is key.
Yeah.
And many people, when they are reaching a certain collapse, it's because they are ignoring the signs that their body, physically, mental health, the stress is cannibalizing their happiness.
And I think it becomes very difficult to you lose sight of what's really more important. And there are two moments that I remember. One was a really long time ago, 2011. Back then I was working on Istidama, green building regulations. I was coordinating with the Realign municipality. And I was working with the municipality assessors on Istidama, working with them on the criteria, etc. And I remember I was talking to a young female municipality assessor. And we were talking about Istidama وأذن الظهر. So it became prayer time. And she said something, she's like, okay, خلينا نصلي لأنه استدامة ما حينفعنا بالآخرة. Right? And for me, it struck me, I mean, regardless of whether you're a religious or non-religious purpose, this clarity of mind of understanding the bigger objective, the bigger purpose, whether it's al-akhirah, like the religion and end of life, or it's family.
And the priority.
Exactly.
Like you don't miss a priority for even another, at the expense of something.
Exactly. And she wasn't sacrificing the second one, but she had a clear prioritization. And I'm like, I was struck by the clarity of mind in that prioritization. That was the first instance, and I keep remembering it, but I don't apply it 100%.
And it is respect to your choices,
100%.
What is a priority to you, you respect it by committing to it.
And the second instance was a couple of years ago when I was literally near burnout, and we had a difficult family situation, and it was a huge wake-up call. Honestly, I am sucked into work more than 12, 14 hours a day, and my kids are small as well. And for what? And you start realizing, it's out of consciousness. You want to do a good job, you want to do the best job, but a lot of times we lock ourselves into thinking it's either this or that. And if you organize things properly, you can still do both. Maybe not to the 100%, but أصلاً I'm an 80-20% person. I'm not 100%. I'm not a perfectionist. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
I think it's a blessing.
Yeah.
And so it was a second wake-up call, to say, you know what, I will not, I call them fake deadlines, fake emergencies. A lot of times we create fake deadlines and timelines for ourselves because we want to be productive, we want things to move faster, but actually it's within our hand to make it a bit more realistic, a bit more
to pace
fair.
it, to pause.
So these were two key moments. I think that, yeah, it's still a juggling exercise, and I think understanding conflicting priorities is very important. It takes constant reminding, okay, dig deeper. Why am I doing these two things? Well, these three things, okay, I can't do all these three things. They're conflicting.
Yeah.
I'm horrible at aligning my priorities, but it's constant.
We need to come to peace.
Yes.
That first, there's nothing perfect. Second, it's okay not to be okay. Third, to lean on a support system, to delegate, to outsource, to pause, and not necessarily all days they have to be absolutely intense. So in the end, we're not robots. I know they're coming to invade our space, but we're not robots, we're human beings, and we have to keep all our senses revitalized. I'm sure what we're doing, and when we're stretched, we're driven out of love and purpose, and we do things that sometimes speak to our soul. But it's fine. It's fine even when our kids are growing as well, to manage their expectations.
Yeah, I had a discussion with my 7-year-old yesterday. Because of conflicting priorities. I took a paper. I said P1, P2. We cannot have both. He's like, but Mama, I want both. It is an exercise. I mean, I pretended and I understand it fully, but I'm not successfully implementing this alignment. But yeah, it's
but it's okay.
Yes,
it's okay to explain. We're living with it. Life is becoming more demanding, but as long as we are really contributing and chasing a certain purpose that we believe on, it's worth it.
Yes.
Otherwise, really, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
What did you feel was missing from the ecosystem, talking about entrepreneurship, personal reinvention, and how are you balancing the professional hustle with personal resilience needed?
Missing from the ecosystem, you mean?
Yeah, something around us from...
So the side venture that Nadine and I, and you met Nadine, we found after really COP28 came to our region, after COP27 also moved, is this disconnect between the global narrative on climate transition, what sustainability climate transition means, and really the needs on the ground of the smaller cities in the MENA region. So this is something we felt was missing, and I think when these global events come by, everybody wants to be involved, so you tend to converge towards common language. But okay, there's a big common issue, but the reality on the ground is very diverse. It is as diverse as local communities.
Very local, yeah.
Very, very localized. And in our region, you have a very dynamic local civic society in some countries in the MENA region. But awalan, they don't have a consolidated voice. So you don't, for example, have a common understanding of what smaller towns and rural areas in the MENA region suffer from in terms of, I don't know, whether it's climate transition, climate vulnerabilities.
Mitigation.
Exactly. And so these things were very difficult to touch. Yeah, to touch and to act upon. Beyond, for example, okay, need to transfer finance, to channel finance to local communities, need to support farming communities.
Empower them.
Empower,
skills,
like these. But then a lot of times the local communities are not represented in these discussions, and it's normal because it's very difficult to be able to engage at that local level in such a short timeline, for example, let's say a global event. So we felt there was a need for a focused approach to these local communities and their needs by people who understand the region and the specificities of the region. It's not something revolutionary, they exist, but they're very localized. So that's something we definitely felt, and I think anyone you talk to from the region will reiterate this gap. How are we balancing? Both Nadine and I have jobs, so
many hats other than motherhood.
Yes, and the side venture is called Baladia Catalyst.
Yeah.
It's very alive in our heart, but unfortunately because of the other duties that we have both professionally and personally, it's not been activated as much as we would have liked to. It's not dead, and as we were saying, sometimes you have to pace things and prioritize.
Yes.
That's in a nutshell.
I hear you as well. So we're navigating as well fusion minds, where some of us are as well in full-time jobs. However, the common denominator is the clarity about what we want to deliver in terms of impact, democratizing sustainability, knowledge, touching lives and minds, empowering youth and professionals, by what enables them to contribute to the green economy while generating wealth, and as well busy nurturing our Gen AI Gaia to be the expert and advisor in ESG sustainability. So when there is a clear vision, mission, strong values bonding you, the right opportunities will gravitate. And it's a different space for me as well for self-discovery, for contributing to the greater good through other vehicle. When you are with a big multinational, it is the size, the scale, the research.
The engine is
huge
there.
Teams,
Yes.
Armies of people. And then you find yourself, behind the screen, very tiny team, but the spirit keeps you alive, and the opportunity that is there.
And I call you, or in my mind, you're an eternal optimist, mashallah, and I think it's not something to be taken for granted. It's not necessarily easy, because I think I've been in corporate, I've been in kind of smaller teams, starting something from scratch. Okay, with Nadine we did it, but it wasn't we haven't dedicated ourselves, I think, fully. Nadine has done that. She's been on this journey before, so she has more experience. I'm very risk averse, and I think I don't see myself as an eternal optimist. I'm more of a, I guess,
not skeptical,
fighter. And if there's something I'm unhappy about it, I will do something about it. So instead of kind of necessarily the optimism, I am driven by the frustration to act.
But you're resilient
different energy, but same.
Different tides.
Different tides. Yeah, exactly. And so. I think it's the bravery that it takes to persevere is amazing, and I think the fact you've led teams and you are a people person at heart also keeps you linked to the purpose that you're trying to bridge, right? Until you said building bridges, which I think this is your ethos, whether you're in corporate or not in corporate.
It is connecting. People centricity, and yes, building bridges always.
Yeah.
I'm truly available to listen, to talk to people I've never met. If I receive a nudge here and there or through LinkedIn, I'm eager to explore, because you never know really what will be impact and where. So it's like a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
But the linear line, it's really the purpose, even if the tunnel is really long. However, I see light. It makes me happy, and together the energy when we do our meeting cadence, it revives even the sometimes skepticism. So I owe a lot as well of being re-energized when sometimes I'm in doubt, because this ecosystem is totally new to me, to Sharif and Ahmed. So leaning on each other is key, and finding the right partners to trust to grow together in this new ecosystem as well is key. And all of us, we're on the outreach of right partners as well who can support you strategically or from the knowledge angle or tech angle.
Networking, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for Baladia Catalyst.
Inshallah.
Because, you know, the problem is there, you have a solution, you're both experts, you're passionate,
We're-
professional, so you never...
There's a pool of experts. I think everybody, a lot of people actually reached out, حتى young graduates from the region that are not living in the region had reached out.
Wonderful.
Yes, it is. But as you said, it needs focus and dedication.
Dedication.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Everything needs time to...
And-
so that you can hone it, that you can feed it, water it until it blossoms.
Yes.
And when it blossoms, I think then the echoes will become more viral. So when there's something tangible.
Yeah, and
Convincing.
as we were talking, as soon as you have kind of a successful proof of concept,
Yes.
then it proves that this approach works.
Exactly. And
it
then a positive ripple
Yeah.
effect. And we need to keep as well learning how to make things better. Not to be, you know, if there are certain rejections or delays or it's not successful as we believe from the first time, we need to embrace as well that it's perfectly imperfect and it's
Yeah, it's
okay.
fine. Yeah.
And that's how you build something.
A 1,000,000%. I think all businesses are more or less like that. You have this eternal improvement process. Yeah.
Jamila, I know that time is tight and we might be now concluding our discussion, that I would love as well to take to another chapter with you in another occasion, and would love to leave our audience with a certain reflection, advice, something that stays with them. So what words you want to leave our listeners with on Fusion Talks?
I think it's never too late to start something new. So that's one thing that I've kept on. It keeps coming to my mind about new hobbies, while studying something new or trying something new, whether at work or on personal level.
Reinvent ourselves.
Yeah, and really, there's nothing that has an time expiry if you allow yourself to try it. My personal trainer tells me there are 70-year-old women who are much fitter than me, and I still have time to catch up. And then work-wise, I see many people go back mid-career, shift completely their career, etc. And they do great.
Very true.
So that's number one. And secondly, I love what Majd put on LinkedIn the other day. And sometimes we feel we put ourselves down because we see either people have more impact than us, well, I don't know, grow faster, or
the measure of success.
And actually, it's not helpful, because there is no maximum quota of success.
There's success for everyone.
And there is no clear criteria of what success looks like. And so I think really just focusing on what we want and trying to shut down the noise of measuring ourselves based on other people's KPIs, whether it's...
or judgments.
Yes, yeah. For these two, a bit fluffy, but I think especially with age, you start locking yourselves into these boundaries, right? And I'm too old to start, I'm too old to do this, and it's not helpful.
Yeah, I second you. I love what you said, and each one of us has a certain calling, and no path is similar or identical. Enjoy the journey, remain focused, chase, what makes you happy. Again, I used to tell my team always, we need to fall in love with whatever we're delivering, be it's a product, brand, service. But if you're really not driven by what makes your heart pounce, or wake up to a purpose that makes you happy, then you know the journey is going to be boring.
Yeah.
And so embrace the odds, the opportunities, and who is accompanying you, but you need to be at peace with yourself to have this reconciliation. And yes, success measures differ. We start by thinking it's the salary, it's the title, when did the promotion come, did you end up getting married, kids? But in the end, it's other things as well. Really having clear conscience,
Yep.
Being firm against all headwinds to your values. It's the integrity, credibility, how you're remembered, and it's health and time, and the joy of being present.
100%. Couldn't have said it better.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you. Thanks,
Jamila.
Yasmin.
I really enjoyed listening to you, and inshallah to more opportunities
More
together.
coffees on the side, but yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
or walks in the community next
Thanks,
time.
Yasmin.